We had a bunch of crazy storms if you didn't see last night. But yeah, we have a crazy weather pattern coming up. So let's start off. So one of our marginal risks is down here in southern Arizona. We have a marginal risk for severe weather right outside this risk over here. Once storms get out of the marginal risk and get slight from Mexico, it will be pretty crazy. So these storms will be coming from Mexico, in from Mexico. They will dip into Arizona, into that slight risk, and eventually make its way out into the marginal, which could get upgraded in future outlooks to slight, but we don't know what's to come. Let's also check now our another marginal risk, our big one in the U.S. out here. We've got many states in this, like North Dakota, Wyoming, Colorado, Nebraska, Des Moines, or Iowa, Illinois, Ohio, New York, Virginia, and last night was a crazy night, if you didn't see, and Wisconsin's also included. We had a bunch of PDS tornado warnings and stuff. We were covering that all night. We had an 18-hour stream last night, which was pretty crazy. So I'm tired. I need to get up after this. I edit this, get on some sleep. So let's now talk about our 4 slight risks, which I've not seen this in a while. Our weather has been very active. Let's go down to southern Arizona now, where we have a slight risk for severe weather, level 2 out of 5. Phoenix, Florence, Nogales, Sells, I-10, they're all included in that slight risk. Once again, it's going to be those storms from Mexico that are going to head in from Mexico into Mexico, with some other storms of its own coming in from the USA. Yeah, let's go on to our next slight risk. I feel like we see this shape of slight risk a lot. Ray, Goodland, Ogala, many interstates including that. This is gonna be like a wind threat today, a wind/tornado threat. So we do have a bunch of damaging winds. I'm gonna head in because we have a big low pressure system up here, which is causing a bunch of damaging winds to go through the pressure system, which is gonna hold a lot of pressure in. Over here in this circle, there's going to be a bunch of damaging winds in that boundary because this low pressure system's trapped it and shot it out, and now it's circling and can't get itself back out. So it's going to have to stay like that, and there's going to be a big damaging wind until about 3 in the morning. If that really is something, we'll have to cover it all night if we need to again. So let's go to the next one for up here. This is a more high populated area one. So another slight risk. So Pierre, we have a very high populated area. Pierre, Winter, Sioux Falls, Sioux City, Mason City, Fort Dodge, Waterloo. You are all included in that slight risk area. This is another big damaging wind threat. We have a 30%, or not 30%, but we have a hatch risk, which is 75 mile per hour winds. We're going to be having winds from all over the place from over here. So the storm will really start here. It's going to make its way up. But also we have its own winds coming down from Canada. And we also have its own winds just coming in. So this is going to be a big damaging wind threat, I'm telling you. There's going to be a lot of damaging wind. It's going to get very crazy. So we'll probably be there to cover. So we are now going to be covering on slight risk if they're really that active. Let's now go to our another slight risk for the same area that we had yesterday because it did get moved up a little bit. This is our last slight risk. The western side of this slight risk, so past this is the more severe part of this because we do have 30% wind threat there. Let's first talk about over here. So starting off west on this half of the United States, or the slight risk. Chicago, Joliet, Peoria, Bloomington, Springfield, Lafayette, Noblesville, Fort Wayne, South Bend, Toledo, Dayton, Cincinnati, Newark, Akron, Canton, Morgantown, and so yeah, all hazards are capable. including tornadoes. This is a little bit of a damaging wind threat, but it's not as big. This is just, you're going to have run-by storms with hail up to 2 inches, and you're going to have a little bit of a tornado threat. And I'll show you on the models later, but if these models, really show and get together for something that could be very bad, then something really, really big can happen with this. We can get a big tornado threat. We can get a more higher, like 10% tornado threat. What our models are showing now, if we get a federal boundary, like let's say we get a federal boundary goes around here, storms are beyond that, like above this boundary right here. All storms above here can cause tornadoes if they have the cape to do that, which we'll go through all our models in a bit. But if they have the cape to do that, then something are going to be very, very big. So let's start off. Let's now go to the other half of the USA. This is what. Oh my God! Why do I keep doing this? Just keep it dry. Okay, let's look at our threat. All right. So as we do see, we have Cypress, Akron, Canton, Newark, Morgantown, Elkins, Annapolis, Georgetown, Trenton, New York, Scranton, Williamsport, Harrisburg, Akron, Canton, 990. You're included in that for 30% wind gusts. Not really a fair tornado threat unless these storms still have the power that are coming from over here and have a tornado threat with it. Come in this area over here and create tornadoes. Then we can get a pretty isolated tornado threat. We'd get a bunch of tornadoes probably around here, past this, above this boundary. Get a decent amount of tornadoes. That's only our day 1 outlook, but we still got to go over the tornado threat. So let's do that. So we do have a 2% tornado threats. This one over here, which we talked about earlier, any tornadoes past this little boundary can be big and be likely. We can get a 10% today of a tornado threat. Won't be surprised if we do. Could get isolated tornado or 2 past the boundary though. So over here, I don't think it's that much of a tornado threat over here. But if we really get any upgrade on tornadoes today, it's going to be literally right about here. We're going to get a good ass 5% tornado threat, or 10% even, and maybe a hatch risk. We can get some isolated tornadoes today. So past this, we just have a 2% tornado risk, and on the mid-Atlantic, we just have our own tornado threat. These are about storms coming off the ocean and possible water spouts making it onshore, because what today is and what we see literally at this time of year is water spouts come offshore onto land somehow, like through beaches, which is, which is very, annoying, but they evacuate, but still. Tornadoes will be coming out. I don't really know what that 2% risk is entirely for. Let's go to our wind threat, because this is crazy. So, oh my God, oops. So southern Arizona, oh my God, dude, I hate this. All right. So southern Arizona, we have a 15% wind load. There's Phoenix, Florence, Sells, and No Gloucester, all including that. I told you this is a on-the wind outlook. This could get upgraded to 30, or at least get a hatch risk. As you see, the low pressure is going to keep all that in. The models are not really agreeing on that, but we will probably see that happen. I don't know why the models are not agreeing. And this, as I told you, was the wind threat. We have 75 mile per hour winds in this hatched area for Sioux Falls, Winter, Pierre, Fort Dodge. And outside of that, you'll get 60 mile per hour winds and even more. Anything out that can still be something like a 75 mile per hour wind gust. Aberdeen, Watertown, Mankato, Mason City, Waterloo, and Fort Dodge. You're including that. Now the big outlook, we have a 15% starting off of here, Springfield, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Columbus, and then Scranton in Baltimore are 30%. We have mostly Ohio and Pennsylvania in it. Medvale, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Clearfield. This is very high populated, 30% win risk. We could get a hatch risk. It's depending on where our storms decide to set up and what formation is it. It's going to be a squall line. It's going to be just scattered storms. We're going to see, and then the SPC will get out the upgrades. And lastly, a hail threat. The hail threat is just a hatched 15% risk over here, so up to hen egg size. Hail in diameter. So let's now talk about the day 2 categorical outlook. Alright, so looking at our day 2 outlook, we just have a marginal risk. It's way less active than what that was today. This will go a lot quicker, I promise. So we're starting off with a marginal risk up here for Bismarck, Rapid City, Sioux Falls, Sioux City, Minneapolis, St. Cloud, Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, Springfield, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Baltimore. Route line goes all the way east towards Virginia Beach and Richmond. And my bad, why did I say beach? I meant beach. Let's now go to the level 2 out of 5, slight risk for severe weather. Over here, it starts off here in northern Illinois, where we already had a risk over here. Singapore, Chicago, Ottawa, Valparaiso, Bloomington, Lafayette, Noblesville, Fort South Bend, Springfield, Dayton, Cincinnati, Maysville, Lexington, Pikeville, Beckley, Charleston, Morgantown, Elkins, Arizona, Salem, and West Richmond. That's that risk. Let's now go to the tornado risk for tomorrow. As we can see, it's just an isolated 2% tornado risk. I don't think this is such a big tornado day. Tomorrow we're just going to see an isolated tornado too. We could get a couple, maybe if we do see a tornado wing at all. Past this boundary, we could see a big tornado, a long track tornado. But don't count really on that because it's very high populated and they'll probably get Sunshine, Pikeville. When you're eastward, we see Pikeville, Beckley, Charleston. Not really a big tornado threat. They're just putting that if we could see another isolated tornado or two. Tomorrow is going to be not as active as today, or as today's going to be. Today's going to be very active. But tomorrow's probably not going to look like a live chance. As you know, we do go live on slight risk now. So with this, we'll see about that. Tomorrow we just have a isolated significant hatch risk for severe weather, Indianapolis, Lafayette, Peoria, Joliet, Chicago, Fort Wayne, New York. You're all including that. And outside of that, it's not going to be 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts, but it could be. Still, they're just putting it out when they're more likely to. And the hail outlook, we just have a big 5%. Let's now go to our day 3 outlook. This is getting crazy. Once again, we always see this at this time of year. I always see this shape. We saw it earlier. Let's first talk about the marginal risk. Let's start off east. Wilmington, Jacksonville, Greene, Florence, Raleigh, Greensboro, Charlotte, Asheville, Nashville, Bloomington, Pikeville, Charleston, Maysville, Dayton, Knowlesville, Lafayette, Joliet, Davidson, South Chicago, Davenport, Galesburg, Mason City, Waterloo, Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, Indiana, Ohio, Omaha, Sioux City, Sioux Falls, Grand Island, and Lincoln. And then up on the tip, it's Buffalo and Rapid City. But now let's go into the slight risk. South Rapid City, Southwest Rapid City, Southeast Rapid City, and west or eastward Rapid City. You're including that slight risk. Allowance, North Platte, and Martin and Valentine. This is more rural once it's past the suburbs of Rapid City. So it's very rural, like down south over here. So this is could be a tornado threat out here. I think this is more of a tornado day. I think we can get a bunch of other slight risks. There's many areas of news that are significant. Severe weather. That's all our severe weather. Let's talk about the excessive rainfall. It's not really a fair risk. We just have a marginal risk today. Just a fairly low risk. Just a marginal. And then tomorrow, same thing. Pretty much just shifts. And day 4, it just shifts all around over the place. So flash flooding is not going to be as concerning. Let's go through our models now because there's a lot to talk about with the models. Alright, so let's look at our next 48 hours of severe weather. Time is up there, the date is up there. Let's start off. Let's see, alright, in 48 hours, we'll get to that. Let's start off now. It's going to take a little bit to load. Alright, so we're starting off at 4 a.m. We already have some scattered storms over here. Let me play it back So starting off at 2 in the morning, 8:10, which was today, we had some scattered storms. All right, okay, wait, that doesn't count. Sorry. So around 7 a.m., which is around now, we have some scattered storms already. This is literally right now where we're seeing this. Actually, outside my house, I'm seeing rain. We're having some isolated storms are going to make its way. It's going to be like what we saw last night, like just not crazy storms. What is the storms rolling out of the area onto Michigan, where the strong part of that was from 2 a.m. because the storms would not move at all. So, yeah, let's now run through a little bit more. Now at 1 p.m., we're going to have some isolated storms. Let's go back a little bit. See the formation and look at the formation. It eventually, gets rid of the squall line. It was kind of trying to get formated into a squall line, but then it crashes in with just not such a severe storm. This is a couple isolated supercells trying to form. If those do become one supercell, could be a big tornado threat out of that. Over here and over here, we do have a tornado threat. And these storms are still going out here. They're going to make it up to probably around New York. They're going to crash into the ocean around here, into the disturbance. And in Houston, we have some isolated supercells, but they're pretty out in the Gulf of Mexico. Then let's go off a little more. Let's go off to 9 p.m. We have some isolated supercells trying to form, but we have some crazy amount of supercells out here that are already, just become supercells. This is what we're going to mainly be tracking tonight in supercells up here that are coming out of Quebec and Montreal. So this is what we're going to mainly be tracking about tonight around 9 p.m. Let's fast forward a little more so you can see we had some supercells form through in Chicago that are started around here in Dubuque and Wisconsin, like over here. We had storms just collide in and just like form a little bit. We saw them, and then it's gonna go through the lake. The storm's gonna go very fast, and then it just splatters into one big supercell, which is interesting. We never really see this. It's when a bunch of supercells just catch on like that quick. They just catch on, and now they're one big supercell in Indiana. And this is what we're going to be tracking. This is what's going to be concerning tomorrow morning. And this, I'm not going to lie. There's so much storms all around the place. This has a potential for us to go live tomorrow. I'm not going to lie. This does have a potential for us to go live tomorrow, since of how concerning this looks in a big tornado threat. And this hook echo behind this could be a tornado threat for Lafayette out there. So I won't be surprised if we see maybe a tornado or two, but this might flip on the switch for a 5 a.m. stream tomorrow. Who's excited? Phoenix, we have some isolated storms, and these are supercells trying to form that will eventually make its way to Illinois, and about 10 a.m. there'll be storms over there, and that also might keep us to go live. So there's many areas for us to go live tomorrow. Today there's also many areas for us to go live, but tomorrow it's going to be very interesting. Right. So then those storms eventually lose a lot of strength. They're now mainly in Wisconsin. They're going to go through the lake. These storms are going to crash into Joliet and Chicago, eventually going to Indiana and Michigan, and probably end around here in the corner of Ohio. Let's go up a little more. These storms eventually make its way through the lake. They're mainly in Indiana. The light part, is in Michigan, and then we end at 45 hours. We have a little bit of a squall line trying to form. That's going to kind of go straight in. It's going to probably dip into Canada and Detroit, which means it's going to have to go through Detroit and Toledo, Columbus. We also have some isolated storms. And now fast forwarding 48 hours, this is what it looks like. Just have some isolated storms at 8 p.m. tomorrow, which I bet we're going to have to go live tomorrow and today. So that is our models for the next couple of days. So it's going to get fairly active, as you guys all know. It's going to get very active. Yeah, you guys need to be staying tuned. That's all the weather forecast I have for you guys today. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, and share. Make sure to share so others know to stay safe. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys probably later for a live stream. Goodbye.